What's up, guys, and welcome back to Single Issue Summaries. Today I'm going to be trying a different format for Captain America #1. So let's see how it goes. We open up with a very, very depressing panel of a kid looking at towers going down, and he says, "You think you're prepared to see death, but violent death, a man taking a man's life, it's a very different thing. Changes you in ways you know immediately and ways you discover later in the darkness when you're as alone as you've ever been. And when death happens on a massive scale, you fight the terrible thoughts that come. Are we worth saving? And if we are we willing to become the thing that I hate to save us? Am I willing to become a killer?" Then we have a nice little switch up. We go to a diner where they're talking about the good old days. And, if you're living in the present, you're at peace. And then we hear an officer's radio go off, 10-10 shots fired. And this guy is paying attention. So he goes to the scene and he asks, "Where's the shooter?" And the officer goes, "He took my bike, went down Madison. He was going to the UN building." And he's like, "Where's the UN building?" "Wait, you're not police?" "No, ma'am, I'm not." And then we see Cap riding off on his motorcycle. He says, "But I'm here to help." I think that's a very, very cool way to introduce him. Starts going right after the bicycle guy. He is trained. He knows how to ride in fire. And he's right onto him. Weaving through traffic. He can't get a beat on him through the other vehicles, so he needs to get above them, and he just uses a car as a ramp. Super cool. And then he hits him right off his bike with his shield. That's freaking awesome. But then we see that the guy has a bomb on him. So, Captain America botches his landing, and he starts running through, and he's like, "Oh, bomb didn't go off, thank God." Do they still have God in this world? We see this guy arrive at the UN building, and the security officers are like, "Stop or we'll shoot." And Cap is like, "Hold your fire. He's got a bomb." And the guy's like, "I do." And he starts up a conversation. He's like, "You're military." He's like, "How do you know?" "I know a military man when I see one. Service and rank, Army second lieutenant, 2 tours in the Gulf." And then he's like, "Captain, Commandos, Infantry, World War II. Guy says, "That's impossible. In this world, nothing's impossible. But I'm sure you know that, you've seen the impossible." And the guy's like, he pulls out the switch and said, "Nobody cares. People just live their lives while everyone I know dies." It's messed up. And then Cap goes, "Lieutenant, whatever you're going through, whatever you think you'll accomplish here, death just brings more death. So as your superior officer, I'm asking you to stand down." And he does. Good Captain America. He's awesome. He's like, "I know, soldier. Now let's shut that thing down." And he's like, "I'm not sure if I can." And we see the bomb completely stop. And Iron Man comes out of nowhere. He goes, "Remote solutions. Sorry I'm late. There was traffic." And then they're having a conversation at the rooftop. And Cap is like, "It's amazing, the UN designed to stop future world wars." And, Iron Man's like, "Yeah, like, it's always about efficacy. But Cap, if you're running around chasing terrorists, 1 week of being back, it'd be better if you just did that as an Avenger." And he's like, "No, I already belong to an organization, Iron Man, the US Army." He just wants to return to base. And then we cut to a guy saying he's still out there. Who is? And it's this little redhead boy. And he's like, "Son, I told you it's time to go home." "Can't, sir. I won't leave until you let me join up." And he's like, "Dude, you have asthma. Your vision is horrible." And he would snap like a twig. And he's like, "I understand, but this is all I can think about. The world has gone mad, and good, sane men are the only cure." They are not the only cure, man. Come on. We cut right back to Captain America, and they're like, "I've never seen anyone like this. He's the perfect human specimen. We can't match against DNA, but it has all the markings of Dr. Eskeen's super soldier experiments from the 40s. You know, we know that Cap fell into the ice that never changed, and then the Avengers found his body and thawed him out. Everyone does not think he's the original, but all signs point to yes." Now we see somebody walk up to Steve, and he says, "I'm General Thaddeus Ross." You have a lot more questions, and his number one question is, why are you here? That's a fair question. Steve just has a few flashbacks, and he's like, it's been a hell of a week. I've lost everyone and everything I find dear, and one of the only things that still matters to me that's still up is the United States Armed Forces, and he's here to serve. And then Ross is like, I understand that more than you know. Welcome back. I believe I have your first mission. And then go right back to Colton. He is now in the army, talking to his mom, and she's like, you don't need a war or a gun, you need therapy. And that is completely fair. We also see that he has bullies in the army, which is not great, but he'll he'll tough it out. We see him getting called little crybaby. He's like, I'm not crying. And he takes the beatings. Says, when the world turned dark and the bullies gathered, I did what I'd always done. I lifted my fist and prepared for the pain. That's kind of rough. Now we cut to the Fantastic Four, and they're like, well, Sue's stuff isn't working, Johnny's stuff isn't working. Rita's like, Ben, we need you to overpower this beast. And he's like, what do you want from me, Stretch? I can't do anything. And he's like, I believe this gentleman is the source of your problems. Captain America just comes out of nowhere, gripping Mole Man. He's like, happy to stick around and help with the cleanup, but afterward, I was hoping to have a conversation with Mr. Fantastic. So we cut to an empty bar, and they're talking about Victor Von Doom. Reed catches him up on the lore, and then Steve goes like, Doom's an autocratic madman. He's threatening its citizens and America's citizens, and he destroyed the U.S. embassy over there, taking diplomats prisoners before the majority had a chance to escape. Well, they're putting together a covert strike force to go in and retrieve them. And Reed is like, so the Fantastic Four is joining you? He's like, nope, a lot has changed. I just came here to ask you, what is up with this man I'm going up against? That's a fair question. He's like, 2 weeks ago, I was fighting Adolf Hitler, and now I'm in a brand new world wondering, is this fate? Am I going to stop the next Hitler? And he's like, this isn't Hitler. He's just a guy full of like ego and hate, punishing himself for the mother, the father, the people he couldn't save. It's about control and punishing like anyone who gets in his way. And somebody's like, hey, you're Mr. Fantastic. And he like makes the ugliest face ever. He's like, nah, I'm just some guy. Cool trick. Cool trick. And then he goes off. The four of us have opted to not have secret identities. Ben can't hide. Sue can just turn impossible, invisible. Johnny loves the attention. And this guy's called Mr. Fantastic, with a name bigger than life. He just disappears. Everybody expects him to be somebody bigger. And then Steve's like, while Doom, he decided to disappear into that armor and mask. He's like, how do I stop him, Reed? And he's like, that ego is his undoing, but the armor boosts him, to another degree. And he's like, I got something to shut down the armor, but I haven't tested it yet. I could set you up with it, Captain. And he's like, please, it's just Steve. And he's like, I know, but it's only been a couple weeks for you. But my father worshipped you as I was a child, and so did I. And he's like, he pulls out a little action figure, and he's like, I've had this since I was 8 years old. I'm sorry, Cap, but you're a living legend. Myself and so many grew up with you, and you're the brave man who helps fight evil wherever it lives. And he's like, I'm sorry for all you've lost, but I'm glad you're here again. The world needs you. And then Steve asks, these dolls, did they make one of Bucky too? He's like, they're action figures. And you're damn right, they did. So we cut back to Colton, and he's reading late at night. He's like, there's no question in my mind I was going to serve. Steve Rogers, the bullied kid from Brooklyn, was going to serve. And he's caught reading late at night. He's sorry, sir. I know it's lights out. I was just finishing. And then the sergeant drags him out. And he's like, you're a damn mistake and embarrassment. And your fellow recruits are right. You're going to get him killed, crybaby. And then he gets knocked out completely. We cut back to Steve. And it says, my life on display while he's looking at all his stuff just in a museum. And he's like adding to the mythology that grew while I froze in the darkness. You know, he was just another soldier trying to survive and ensure the world of freedom. But now that the world has built him up, can he embrace it or does he fight it? Can he allow himself to call himself a living legend, you know, while the stars and stripes are his armor? So we see Colton in the hospital after getting beat up, and somebody gives him his inhaler and says, "It must be tiring being so feeble, your body saying no, but your soul and spirit wanting more." He's like, "What if I told you I could cure your asthma?" And they call up Steve for his mission. "Sorry to call you in so soon, but our last spy in Latveria has gone dark. We pray that the infiltration point he gave us still works." And Cap says, "Prayer goes a long way if the planning is solid." And he's like, "Do we know where they're being held?" The only location we have is Marius Wolf, the head of Latvian resistance. He's located in a safe house, willing to help. And he's like, "How small is our entry team?" "It ain't the size of your entry team, it's how you use them." Terry Mendoza introduces himself, aka Chill. And we also have Captain Julie Slate, the marksman for the Howling Commandos. And Cap goes like, "Howling Commandos, big name to live up to, soldier." And he's like, "We're a Marine, soldier, graciously letting an Army fossil join us." And he's like, "My bad. So we're a 3-person team?" "No, sir, no, we're not." And we cut to a shield. Somebody else has a shield. "So I went out into the world to answer the question, can I stop the bullies? Can Captain America make the world a better place?" And I hope you guys like that, and I'll see you again soon.